Are you ready to get wrenching with Nate's Interactive Auto? Wrenching with Nate's Interactive Auto. We're going to do a tire rotation for today. Depending on the tires on your vehicle, you could have bidirectional, asymmetrical, so forth. So bidirectional will have an arrow pointing forward, and the front tire will go straight to the back on both sides, straight to the back, and then the rear will go straight to the front. Okay. However, if you do not have those tires, and I don't, this front tire will get taken off and put back on the left rear. So the front right on the left rear, okay, and vice versa. And then the rear tires, though, will be brought straight forward. First thing you want to do while the vehicle's on the ground, you want to break these loose. I prefer to use a breaker bar. Another thing you want to do once you break all the tires loose, tire gauge. Make sure you check the tire pressure in your tires. Okay. Observe your tire, look at it, make sure there's no abnormal wear. I like to use a little anti-seize when I put the lug nuts back on. You may need 4 jack stands or something to lift the vehicle, a jack. Okay, so now that we got them all broken loose, let's get this thing underway. Okay guys, let's find yourself a good point under here to start jacking. Have your jack stand ready. Okay. We're going to be popping these lug nuts off. Lug nuts. Take them all off. Now if you find any debris on the stud or the nut itself, then you may want to take some penetrating oil and clean it off, or some carb cleaner. Keep all those together. Then you can take your tire off. Be careful not to scratch your rim up, get any debris, rocks or anything that rub against them. Now, let's show you guys how to rotate these tires. First thing you want to do is take front tires, send them to the back. You want to keep these tires separate so that you don't confuse them. And keep these on the outside. Tire on the inside is the rear. So I'm going to take the rear and put it in the front. Okay. And then I'm going to take this front, put it in the rear. Take this front, or I'm sorry, this rear, put it in front. And if you had any trouble, even after you got your lug nuts off, and the tires still seem like it wouldn't want to come off, you can take a rubber mallet or something and hit it or kick it right here on the sidewall on each side, like across, side to side, top to top, and they'll loosen the tire up. Now, you have each tire where it needs to go. Depending on what you like to do, you may not need to do all this, but for starters, let's get our wheel back on, and then we'll go from there. Okay. May not want to stay, so you may have to put a lug nut on it. Okay. So, what I recommend, taking some anti-seize, obviously. You don't want the anti-seize all over your rim, so you will not need much, just a little. Okay guys, and for your next step, after you've got all your lug nuts tightened on with either your finger or, you know, I like to just take an extension too and, you know, kind of get them all snugged up. That way they do not cross thread. Like I said, the anti-seize is, you know, for you. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. Especially if they're getting really old or they're rusty or anything. But you may want to clean them up first. So, the next important thing is they go on in a certain pattern. You want to make sure that pattern is correct. Keep going around them, kind of snug them up a little bit, and don't tighten them. Okay. Next thing you want to do is do the pattern that I was just telling you about. Extension helps to make sure you don't accidentally scratch your rim with the ratchet. So the pattern's like this. This is a 5 lug. So I'm going to snug this up with the ratchet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we'll do that again. Make sure they're all good and tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And it's always a good idea, no matter what you do, torque wrench or whatever. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. You just kind of keep your ratchet and socket handy, even after so. And you have all your wheels installed back on. Then after about 50 miles, just kind of go back through, check them all, make sure they're all still good and snug. Just a safety precaution. It's always best to do. So now we'll move on. Always make sure to check your air pressure. The vehicle has 51 psi's max pressure, so I want to do about 5% below that. Your max pressure, or the pressure you have in your tires, will increase as you've driven. Make sure you haven't driven the car for about 3 hours. Now if you just drive for about a mile or something, then park the car to do your rotation, that's perfectly fine. So okay, and look, okay, and our pressure is good on this tire. And then once we have all the other wheels on, what we'll do with the other wheels, once they're installed, is we'll come back through and check the torque one more time to make sure it's tight, because sometimes when the vehicle's off the ground you can't really get it as tight as you need to. So let's move on. Okay guys, for my next step, what I always like to do, just to be safe and everything, once the tire's on the ground, you're able to actually get it to the torque specification needed. For this car it's like 64 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, but this is the torque pattern. Once again, you'll go back over the torque pattern same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I always like to do, my breaker bar. Now, if you're using a pipe wrench, a pipe wrench, but a piece of a pipe slid over a ratchet, or this getup, what you want to do, breaker bar, what you want to do is you don't want to give it all you got or anything like that. Just give it a little bit of a turn, a quarter of a turn. 2, 3, 4, 5, or less than a quarter of a turn, if that's what you choose. So looks like we all have her wrapped up, and I'm gonna get these tools put up, these jack stands and everything. Looks like it's trying to rain on us. So as you guys can see, we have all 4 tires on, all torqued.